I mean, because I've seen you've been doing this for a while, man. I felt bad too, you know, just doing a bit of a history checkup on yourself. I felt bad for myself not not sort of understanding the bigger picture a lot earlier then. I mean, I've seen you out there, man. You've been a soldier, really pushing out your message, the truth, I guess. Does it get hard at times, man?
When does it not get hard is a better question. You know, well, it's you're facing the same thing all the time and different things all the time at the same time. You see what I'm saying? How crazy making that can be. So you got to learn to roll with it to a large degree. And for the longest time, the way I rolled with it was with cannabis. Actually, I would. Be helping out the cannabis movements and activists of all kinds from around the world with my radio show. And when you look into cannabis and the varying areas in society that it actually permeates into, organised crime, politics, industry, recreational substance uses and things of that nature, you begin to realise that there's a much broader picture here than just cannabis going on. And I was, you know, maybe a little bit saddened to see that the other people in the cannabis movement who I'd supported for some time weren't ready to, you know, come out in favour of all of these other issues that are now coming out. And I did. Well, I'm sorry. You'll have to forgive me. I'm only just, you know, on here thing. Have I answered?
No, you're all good. First of all. You're all good. People love your work out here, Vin. People love your work out here. I mean, I know that you do encounter a lot of trolls anyways, which we'll touch base on. Coming up, I know that's one of the episodes that you touched base on recently. But for those who, like, you know, just joining us now, one of the things that actually caught me on to Vinny Eastwood and his work was the way that he pulls dirt from, you know, closets of many politicians. In that case, anyways, you would have seen a piece done on the news, or if you've been sort of, you know, on your own alternative view of what's happening right now, you would have seen the piece exposing JA in 7 minutes or under 7 minutes, which literally brought your brand, for those who are digging people for more answers, it brought your brand up in a resurgence this year. I mean, did you ever feel that you'd be back in the fight? Because I think I recall hearing someone say that you were just saying that, you know, you weren't too sure how things were going. It's almost like, not saying you lost hope, but I mean, what you're seeing right now sort of revived that. Is there any truth to that, Vinny?
Well, in the news business, the worse things are for everybody, the better they are for me. And right now, things are really bad for everybody. So I'm fantastic, actually.
Good, man.
You know, and I think there's so much going on in terms of how you get that information, and the information that I get isn't due to me getting it, it's actually due to me leaning on other people who know how to get information, you know, people like Ben Vidgen from Postman Productions, people like Vince Seamer from kiwisfirst.co.nz. These are people who've been working for a decade and actually read the documents, who understand them and translate them, and then I translate for them, you know, and get them on things. So I'm a translator of a translator. Something would say that makes me a shadow in the night.
Are you Batman? You were born in the dark. You know, there's another one. There's another one here that I want to talk about. Let's talk about this, Vinny. The lockdown. Lockdown August prediction. New Zealand Public Party had made this one earlier July, or later June, early July. Vinny, from that day, we've been seeing a division or a kill shot from media. Or if we look in the public, the attack on others who share a different opinion on the pandemic as well. It's almost like you mentioned an electronic war. You touched on a previous recent episode of yours, or almost like an information warfare where we're seeing major censorship. We're seeing, again, like I said, a major division simply because people have different views on this, or they're questioning the leader at this time. If you can just sort of run through us anyways, what's happened in your climate regarding that particular segment of, you know, when the prediction was sort of called accurate, caused everyone to go in a bit of a frenzy.
Okay, so I think it was July 23rd. I'm not 100% sure, but if you go back in my archives, there's a show that includes the title "August Lockdown Coming?" ? And in that interview, Billy said that, and this was about a month before the re-lockdown happened, lockdown 2, Judgment Day. We got a lot of people who, when that prediction was made, coming out calling us crazy, that we're stupid or whatever, when in actual fact, Billy'd been contacted by, I believe, about 11 different people from government departments saying that they'd been informed by whomsoever within their chain of command that this was in fact going to happen. And when you are a journalist like me, 3 people who've got nothing to do with each other who come to you and tell you the exact same thing, that's about as close as you can get to a fact without verifying the evidence yourself. If 3 people independently who don't know each other come to you with the exact same information, that's probably true. And he had 11. Right, so that's why I stocked up and prepared my wife for it and my baby, and asked for donations and things like that in order to get us through this hard time, because ultimately we were pretty sure that it was going to happen, but also at the same time the credibility of Billy TK, myself and others was on the line. So if it didn't happen in the second week of August, then we'd have to be explaining why. We may have gotten more information then, or something of that nature, and then everybody would go like, oh, of course you'd say that, you're just some kind of cult leader just saying that the sun's going to come in front of the, this kind of rhetoric would have to be engaged in. But because we were right, all the naysayers
That's right.
have had to be quiet all of a sudden, or just completely ignore the fact that they were wrong for all their naysaying and make up whole new reasons why they don't want to support the party and all of this kind of thing. Now, according to Psychology Today, internet trolls are narcissists, psychopaths, and sadists, and they require but one thing from you: your attention. If you're arguing with them, if you're attacking them, you're giving them attention, and they have won. Okay, so now you know who all the people are that are criticising the party, saying it's not going to get registered, saying it won't get into Parliament. Any of the naysayers now at this point need to do some very serious self-analysis about what they're thinking, what they're doing, and how it makes them look before they do it, before they put these social media posts up. All right, and this is just my advice to you. If I was working for you, right, this is what I would advise you to do: is make sure you do precisely what Billy has been saying that they're doing the entire time. You stay calm, you stick to the facts, and you stay on solid ground. And if 11 different sources from government departments tell you that a lockdown's coming in the second week of August, and you don't report that, that's being irresponsible. Now, it's up to anybody else whether or not they want to believe this, but the fact that we were right has vindicated us to a large degree, and it has made a huge amount of people say some very encouraging things about the party as a result. For instance, we've heard that members of Parliament are now calling Jamie Lee Ross and telling him that just because of this lockdown happening and the fact that you guys predicted it, this has won you the election. All right, this has won you seats in Parliament. Rather, they've just won. This has won you seats in Parliament. So this is the thing. People don't like these lockdowns. There are a lot of people who are mentally ill out there and don't know what they're talking about, who are absolutely in favour of the lockdowns and hate everybody who questions it and that kind of thing. But again, go back to the rules of Psychology Today. These people want your attention, and if you give it to them, they win.
Vinny, I want to add on as well. You talk about credibility, and it almost seemed like what happened with that prediction almost sort of halted, because I heard Billy actually say that he almost had intel on October 17 actually being the actual date for it, but they didn't release that anyways. Was that because of what we're seeing anyways unfold with the prediction lockdown? Because there was information that, I mean, that was something that I mentioned. Billy said that you didn't catch that? No?
Not specifically.
Okay.
However, that might have something to do with the martial law protocols that are planned for implementation in October when they institute a full military lockdown. Those are rumours at present. We don't know whether or not that's absolutely true. However, if you want to look at the technicality of it, we have soldiers running checkpoints around New Zealand. That is called martial law. Okay, technically speaking, we are already under a military dictatorship in the middle of an election. If that scares you, it's because your brain is working.
And you know what? If your brain is working, you would have been able to catch the update regarding the lockdown ruled by a high court. You mentioned it before, right at the end of what you were saying, anyways, about lockdowns not actually entirely working. But here again, the High Court just recently ruled lockdown level 4, or the first 9 days, illegal. Now, Vinny, I wanted to ask you a question. Would the first 9 days being illegal, would that have been the first 9 days before the COVID-19 health response bill was passed? Or, I mean, how does things sort of, be illegal for 9 days and then be all right from there? But again, this is an update too. I know that you've been probably sharing this all over it regarding on the NZPP page. But what are your thoughts on that, Vinny? What are your thoughts on that? I didn't really think that the outcome would be this way. I actually didn't see that, but when I did see it, I thought, oh, common law prevails.
I'm so sorry. I was just adjusting the live stream.
No. That's fine.
Right at that moment. So I kind of missed the question, I'm afraid.
No. Okay, I'll put the question again. Okay, Vin. So obviously we just talked about lockdowns. You mentioned how, you're a bit fed up with people who have no idea about what they're actually talking about, sort of stand for them. But on that topic of lockdowns, a high court ruling, lockdown level 4 was actually unlawful, and for the first 9 days. Now, what's your take on this one, Vinny? And I just wanted to add on with that. With the first 9 days being before the COVID-19 health response bill was activated and passed, what's your take on, obviously, the news of lockdown level 4 being illegal in the first 9 days?
Well, I think that all these lockdowns are unlawful because they're not preventing people who are sick from travelling. They're preventing people who are healthy from travelling. That is not quarantine. That is martial law. And because of the lack of threat from COVID-19 in and of itself, there isn't actually any justification for the lockdowns themselves. If you've got a 99.6% or whatever it is survival rate for it, if the only people to a large degree that are actually being affected by it and dying from it are the elderly and those with underlying health conditions, what you do is you simply advise those people to stay home. And NZPP, Advanced New Zealand, has already released their COVID-19 policy already. So the things that people need to think about is going to nzpp.org.nz and having a look at the COVID strategy for the party. I myself have not yet looked at it, but however, it's reported to have been very well received, especially among intellectuals and doctors and people of sound mind and reasonable composure. So that gives me a little bit of hope that we should be able to restore this economy, restore our freedoms, end the martial law lockdowns, and get ourselves back on track and become the leaders of this world.
I love that. You mentioned documentation, or Billy would mention documentation a number of times, actually, coming in from the military, in which he was provided by an inside source. I would say fortunate enough that I was able to look through it myself, and those who follow this page as well probably got a bit of a sneak peek into it as well. But from what Billy was saying in terms of door-to-door knocking, it can be confirmed. Vinny, have you seen the documents? Have you seen the documents as well that I believe Section 30, Planning Guide, B7, Assistance in Door-to-Door Knocking, Public Information Tasks, and a range of security related support. There's a bunch more as well, but for those who would be denying, I guess, that information, you can confirm that from documents that you've actually seen as well, right?
I can. So these were the leaked documents from a member of the New Zealand Defence Force. We can't reveal who that is because they've got a family. And so the question is not whether or not the documents are authentic. The question is, how are these things going to be enforced? So let's say, for example, Vinny Eastwood is now given the right to come into your home whether or not you want me to force you to have medical procedures whether or not you want me to strip you and your family of their togetherness by isolating you in separate quarantine facilities because I say so. You'd think, Vinny Eastwood, you're a tyrant, you're a horrible person, that is evil. I would resist you and defend my family against your oppressive actions. But because it's the government doing it and saying that it's for your safety, people are capitulating to these things. And they're doing it with force, or at least they will, if people aren't capable of convincing the police and the military and the financiers who are capable of paying them that this is not good for this country, that you should in fact respect people's own personal sovereignty. Now, this goes back to the Nuremberg Code because in Nazi Germany, they were experimenting on people without their consent. They were doing forced medical procedures on them, and various members of the Third Reich were hung from the neck until dead because of those violations. And we enshrined in the Nuremberg Code that if any medical procedures are to be given to you, you must be able to have informed consent. And at the moment, they're taking away consent and, to a large degree, holding away the information as well, because the discussions that are being had on social media, even things that are, one listener sent me a screenshot of a box of masks that tell them they can't protect you from COVID, and then Facebook flagging those as hateful content or science doesn't agree or something of that nature. This is from the manufacturers. So if the manufacturers of these safety devices are in fact telling you that these things don't protect you, if the manufacturers of the tests are telling you that these tests don't even test for COVID specifically, and if the government is telling you that you've got no rights and we're going to commit war crimes against you in order to further our agenda, then, ladies and gentlemen, the time for asking why is over. You should know why at this point. They want a world government of communists, and they don't want you to have any personal freedoms or any personal thoughts, and that is something you must not allow. That is something you must use the most powerful word in the English language, the forgotten word, no.
Yep. I hear you 100% on that, Vinny. Backing what you're saying too. I know that the NZPP page had shared details from Gerhard Sunborn, an epidemiologist at the University of Auckland, a member of the COVID-B plan group, a person who I've seen actually as well inside the Pacific community too a number of times. Some of the words that he's actually mentioned on the morning show with News Talk ZB's Kerry McAvoy is COVID-19 isn't as dangerous as the fear instilled in the community. Lockdowns don't work. If we're going to lock down and keep our borders closed, in the wait of a hope of a vaccine, in the best case 4 years, or in the worst case never, I just can't see the logic in that. Now, why aren't these voices being particularly heard, in your opinion? Give us an understanding why these voices that provide almost like a calm logic aren't being, given the limelight or given the time of day, actually.
Do you have a conscience? Yes, you do. Okay. Are you capable of thinking for yourself? Yes, you are. Okay. You're the enemy. All right. And if you are ever exposed to this information that appeals to your conscience and allows you to think for yourself, that is the media's job to prevent you from being exposed to information like that. Just in general. Yeah. Because on a subliminal level, part of us look at what's being said on the television or being said by the Prime Minister as BS. Some part of us says that. And if we are hearing voices that confirm this, this, then it's going to be much easier for us to be socially accepted and have these ideas percolate in our minds so that they come to conclusions. So the reason why, if you say, I believe you need to ask the questions who, what, when, where, and how before asking the question why. It's Vinny with a Y because it's the most important question, and Eastwood, like, go ahead, make my news, right? but the thing is, if you know why somebody did something, what would that matter if you didn't know who it was, or what they actually did, or when it happened, or how they did it? You see, this is what's happening with our society, our ability to discern fact from fiction, to do what's known as getting the grammar down. That is what is known as confusion, okay? That's what it is left with. Now, when the CIA was originally created, called the OSS in World War II, they had a mandate specifically for, what was it called? To confuse the enemy, okay? And just an example of this, a train full of mail was bound for the command of the Third Reich. The OSS hijacked that train, took the boxcar of mail off the tracks, opened every single letter, read them, changed details around, and put their own fake letters back in, sealed up the envelopes, and then sent the entire train of mail into Germany. Troop movements, personal letters, who's thinking to who about what. Every single person within the Third Reich who received letters from that suddenly had confusion about what was really happening, where people really were, who they could really trust, and what they were really thinking. Does that sound exactly like what the media's job is today? Because in the 1970s, it was revealed in the Church Committee hearings that Operation Mockingbird had been in effect for some time, and they had taken over the media. They had taken over the anchormen, the most powerful people that you know of that tell you what the truth is on a daily basis, are working for the intelligence agencies specifically with the modus operandi of confusing you so you don't know who your allies are, you don't know who the enemy is, and you don't know what the truth is. Does this sound a lot more reasonable than, oh, these people are all just stupid, they just make these mistakes all the time and keep getting away with it?
You know, Vinny, I want to go back on something where you ask about when, who, what, why, and why is why I would like to know. Helen Clark, she seems to be in charge of or leading the inquiry on the origins of the virus here, and you know, we have a man by the name of Hilal Nawa, an executive director of the watchdog group UN Watch, and he comes here to say that, or he adds on to say he slams the fact that the former New Zealand Prime Minister is too close to China and the WHO director Tedros to carry out the role effectively. Helen Clark has an attraction to communist dictatorships. Well, obviously, you know, here she is showering praise on Cuba's communist regime for sending doctors abroad. However, the UN itself exposed how they're treated like slaves. So my question to you, Vinny, is, I mean, what's your take on this and Helen Clark and how she may possibly be, well, maybe, you know.
Helen Clark is a member of the Club de Madrid, which the requirement of your entry into the Club de Madrid is you have to be the former Prime Minister or leader or president of a democratically elected country. The basic stated objectives, if you can use a little bit of English translation to the Club de Madrid, is they want to end national sovereignty using public-private partnerships to turn everything into a global communist corporate fascist state, more or less, if you wanted to really boil it down. But they use nice words and things of that nature. And she was part of the United Nations development program. She had a $9 million salary, and I believe that was the third highest echelon within the United Nations, and a $9 billion budget annually. So this is a person of immense wealth, immense power, immense connections. And if you have a look at the previous previous strokes of the Labour Party and her other associates, Phil Goff, David Shearer. These are also people who are associated with the United Nations and with another members-only organisation, which Helen Clark is also a member of, called Parliamentarians for Global Action, whose stated objective is to end national sovereignty and turn the world into a global communist, fascist, privatised state. All right, with no private property for anybody except these nameless corporations, which a few families own, more or less. But again, that's a rough translation of the text. My Mandarin and my Cantonese is both very rusty, but apparently it's a very concise language when it comes to global communist fascism coming in around this. Now, this the term communism, these terms fascism, I derive from Benito Mussolini, the fascist dictator of Italy, where he said that fascism should be more correctly termed corporatism, because it's when the corporations take over the state, that is what it is. Now, when you look at corporatism, fascism like that, but then you look at communism opposed, one is where the corporations take over the state, and the other is when the state takes over the corporations. But the end result is the same. And so what I think is happening right now, just occurring to me right this second actually, is that you've got these communist UN lovers and stuff like that, and then you've got these fascists, these patriot lovers and things of that nature, but they're actually both heading towards the same goal, which is a global control grid. All right. Now, this global control grid is going to be run through the 5G because it's got enough data sharing capacity. A lot of people talking about the health effects of 5G and it's untested or whatever, or the tests were only done with one 5G transmitter, and the average person, if everything's fully implemented, will be exposed to like 50 on a daily basis, you know. But that's a side issue to the 5G. The real issue of 5G is how much data can be downloaded. If you're getting gigabytes a second, can you access every single microphone, every single camera?
Yes.
Can you access every single output so that you can track every single person in real time with AI to analyze their walk, analyze their thought patterns, analyze their speech, and to be able to give them little ticks on the social credit system, which will be on your phone, that says now you can't travel by train, now you can't fly, now you can't do this or that or the other because Big Daddy government AI God controlled you and said that you can't. Now, you may think, oh, well, that's a bit crazy. Why AI control God? Well, just think about the aspects of God as it stands. Omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, okay? It's everywhere, it knows everything, and it can do anything, all right? Wow. If you've got an AI in control of your life and every single thing that you do, that's God. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the communists are creating a God to control you and your family for the rest of time.
Vinny, what is your take on communists and like their belief in God? Anyways, do they have any faith in God? The way
ask the 3,000. Oh, sorry, it was 6,000 temples in Tibet that the Chinese burned to the ground. Ask the million followers of the Dalai Lama who were executed what the Chinese think about religion. Okay? Ask the Falun Gong practitioners who are having their organs harvested while they are still alive on a van bound for airports so their organs can be sold on the black market because they won't declare that the state is God. All right? Ask them. Ask the millions or so Muslims that are currently in what amounts to death camps in China. If they respect your religion. No, they have but one God, and that is the state, and they have no individuality that is protected. And basically, ladies and gentlemen, the only thing that exists in this world in humankind is the individual. You know why? Because you can touch an individual, you can talk to an individual, you can hug them, and if they be bad, you can punch them in the face. But you can't do that to a government. You can't do that to a collective because it's an abstraction. It doesn't really exist, okay? Kind of like a forest. It doesn't really exist because you can't touch a forest, but that you can touch a tree. And when your ideology is that there is no trees, there is only a forest, that is mental illness. That is psychopathy. That is control freak.
And I want to make it clear, right? You're indicating the Communist Party. The Chinese people are fine, right? China's fine. It's the Communist Party in which the comments you're making are directed to, right? I mean,
I can't speak for all the Chinese people. I can only speak for the organizations that seek to oppress them and have successfully done so for the last, I don't know, since the 1950s, I think it was, when the West gave a huge amount of money to these communists, when the West armed these communists, okay, when the West advised these communists, when the West gave them the technology to enslave their people, okay? I'm talking about a far, far broader agenda that includes every single power structure that we yet have a name for is involved in this, and that is called UN Agenda 21. That is what all the governments around the world are basically signed up to, and it is a complete and utter cataloguing of every animal, vegetable, and mineral to be controlled, and the information sources, by the way, to be controlled in real time by AI. That's the God system I'm talking about, and that will be administered, or every single thing that you do. Can we say this right now? Where there'll be the decision made that we can't, and we can't argue with the decision. Can we leave the house today? There'll be a decision made that we can't, and you won't be able to appeal that decision, okay? Complete total enslavement grid. Why do you think every single freaking, what would you call it, sci-fi movie in the last couple of decades has imprinted on us some kind of dystopian future? They are reality stream hacking. They are trying to create the perception of reality that this bad stuff is coming and that you can't stop it, and so this way you can enjoy watching the movie right now because that horror is not here yet. But ladies and gentlemen, the horror is here now, okay? And you've got to be thinking about hacking into the matrix in your own way and waking up as many people as you can. Now just remember, you can't wake nobody up. You can only tell them things that they cannot unhear. Okay, that's the main principle to take away. It's called the information grenade. You pull the pin, you chuck it in, and it blows up in their face later. Kind of like predicting the lockdowns before they occur.
Well, you know, with that being said, Vinny, and we'll dice up a bit more in Agenda 21, but you know, these elections, and I'm seeing you very much so putting a lot of work into it. It seems like a very important elections. You know, I also add on as well, you have been sharing as well that Jacinda Ardern has confirmed the fact that, you know, she's proud of leading a government that is implementing these agendas into local legislation. So that's actually been, you know, confirmed anyways at the Goalkeepers Conference in New York. So, I mean, for those people who understand or don't understand about Agendas 21 and 30, they can understand anyways that it's been implemented. Legislation has been implemented slowly. But with that being said, you know, what we're seeing and what's happening right in front of us indicates that this may be, or this is the biggest or the most important election. And I wanted to get your take as well. The delay, October 17th. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing, Vinny? What is your take on this?
There was once a Zen master, and this boy in the village, he found a horse grazing on its own. Nobody owned it, so he jumped on the horse and he rode it back into the village. And the villagers went to the Zen master and they said, "Oh, isn't it wonderful that he found this horse?" The Zen master says, "We'll see." And the next day, the boy was horsing around with his new horse, as you do, and he fell off it and he broke his leg. And the village was like, "Oh, isn't it unfortunate that he fell off and broke his leg?" And the Zen master says, "We'll see." The next day, some soldiers from the Red Army came into the village to take away all the able-bodied men to be enslaved and to go off and fight for the communists. But the boy couldn't be taken by the soldiers because of his broken leg. And the villagers that were left said, "Well, isn't it fortunate that you broke your leg?" What does the Zen master say? "We'll see." Okay, and that's what we've got to really think about right now when it talks about the the delay of the election, we'll see whether it's good. We'll see whether it's bad, because as soon as the lockdown came, we jumped in the amount of people viewing the New Zealand Public Party page above the reach of the New Zealand Labour Party, which means we currently have more reach on the Facebook platform alone than the New Zealand Labour Party, which has all its apparatus, all its members, and so on and so forth. So in that way, it could be good. The other way, I'm not sure, because it means that there's an extra month of implementation of all of these measures that we don't like that can be done before an election can be held. And not to mention, every time that the government has announced when they're doing these lockdowns, they extend them. Okay, it's kind of like making a deal with Darth Vader. This deal is getting worse all the time.
I hear you, bro. I hear you, man. Just keep an eye on that, guys. All right, whatever Vinny's talking about right now, you literally got to keep your eye on this. Activate discernment. Activate your own ability for critical thinking. Because what we're getting right now is a lot of gold, and I'll make sure to save this live down for everyone to go through and get the knowledge. You know, Vinny, I also wanted to touch base on something as well regarding the rumor mill. Now, there's so many rumors, Vinny. There's so many rumors. Where do I start? Freemasonry. Well, you know, Billy's a Freemason, and you know, Vinny's connected to that as well. He's a communist plant. He's a Communist Party plant. Then he's a puppet for the Māori elite. Shout out to Across the Rubicon. You know, I was with that guy until he made that Māori elite line. He's a puppet to the Māori elite who will ruin this country if they ever got control. And now, Vinny, this movement is a part of white supremacy. Now, as long as I've seen a lot of support, I don't see, you know, I see a lot of, you know, people of color, literally a part of this movement. You know what I mean? I don't see a space where, you know, people are like, you know, segregating or anything like that. Well, the rumors, Vinny, and the thing is, I know that Billy has addressed a lot of these anyways. Yeah. You know, the Freemasonry, Michael Stace, the Communist Party, photos that have been found online with Helen Clark, the Māori elite. I have no idea. Maybe it's because of how he's proud Māori, and the white supremacy thing. How's that sort of, you know, been to sort of chop those things down with the facts?
But again, we're talking about people who have mental illness and personality disorders who want attention, all right? And that's basically, that's politics, folks, okay? That's dirty politics. Now, during World War II, when the Lancaster bomber pilots had to take off from England to targets where they didn't even know where they were in Germany in some cases, they had a saying, if you're copping the flak, you're over the target. All right. And what that means is, ladies and gentlemen, if you're being attacked, it means you're hitting the mark. You're doing what you should be doing, and you are where you're supposed to be. Right. And that's the lesson to really take away from here. Now, that being said, I'm still not 100% convinced that there isn't a Masonic connection. I'm not 100% convinced that there isn't a Māori sovereign connection. I'm not 100% convinced that there isn't any of these other things. But what I am 100% convinced about is nobody's got 100% of the proof that is required in order for me to answer the who, what, when, where, why, and how. Right. So at the moment, it's just in the periphery. If somebody produces substantive evidence rather than just an accusation, then I'm definitely going to look into it. I've looked into every single one of these accusations to the best of my ability, and admittedly my ability ain't that great, and admittedly I'm compromised as a journalist because I'm working with the Advanced New Zealand and New Zealand Public Party, but at this point I can honestly say that I haven't seen anything concrete that would lead me to continue to be suspicious of Billy and Advanced New Zealand Public Party at this juncture. If the evidence comes around, boom, I will turn on a dime.
Bob's your uncle.
Yeah. But until that time, baby, keep your accusations to yourself till you can back it up with some facts, all right? Because otherwise you're basically just sending mental viruses downstream, and it's defamatory to a large degree. And there's a reason why we've got defamation laws, and the reason why the phrase, my name is mud is because in the when Abraham Lincoln was shot, one of the co-conspirators who was accused by the prosecution of being in on the conspiracy to assassinate Abraham Lincoln, his name was actually Mud. But the fact of the matter was, Mud had nothing to do with the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. But by the time the press had gotten wind of it and gotten all the information out, his good name was completely tarnished, and his name was Mud. That's where we get that saying from. So they're trying to drag us through the mud here. None of it's actually sticking, and the popularity of the party is growing ever before. And Billy is actually addressing these issues. Every single show that I do with him, my advice is don't even give any airtime to these issues, because it distracts from actually solving the problems that we face. But Billy is always on the show talking about these issues and addressing them, that kind of thing, which tactically not the best move in my opinion, but however it just reeks to his honesty and him wanting to actually get the truth out there and to counter these rumors before they grow into these gargantuan snowballs. I totally note that one. But I would say honestly, these rumors have been really kicking off. You said it before. Nothing of this would be happening if they weren't doing the right thing. And I would say that I see a lot of how should we say, a lot of pushback from other minor parties too, and that's where I see a lot of it come from. Anyways, obviously we see it from big party supporters, but then the minor party supporters, I would have actually thought that they'd jump on board, especially with the traction that's happening. Vinny, I'm pretty sure that you've been. That's the problem. I've worked with a political party, and political parties don't work the way you think they work, right? And they work the way that they do, and the way that they do is they've got all of these rules that they've got to follow. The way that they do is everybody's working voluntarily. The way that they do is people protect what is theirs, and they put their ideas out, and they don't like people stealing their thunder or changing stuff. And when Billy TK comes out and he's got this is the media following of the most popular major party, and this is the media following of Billy, and this is how long that party's been looking at getting how long they've been working at getting their media following, and this is how long Billy's been working at getting his media following. I would imagine that you'd be kind of offended if he came and told you that you're being selfish because you won't change your party name, that you won't demote yourself and then come underneath his leadership. I can imagine that if you were working for years for very little results, for somebody to come along who works for a very short period of time and gets massive results, to then call you selfish because you're not going to demote yourself, that kind of thing. There is absolute justification for the feeling in some of the minor parties about Billy and the way he does things, because they have put in the work. They have done a lot of this, but also at the same time, there's another story. There was a little bird and he was flying along, but it got really, really cold, and he froze solid in midair, and he fell all the way to the ground. And this cow comes along and craps on him, but the bird thought that was real gross, but the crap was so warm that it actually thawed him out. But he couldn't actually get his way out of it until a cat came along, and the cat dug him out of the poo, and then the bird said, "Thank you so much," and then the cat ate him. All right? Now, the moral of the story is that sometimes you'll find yourself covered in a bunch of poo. Yeah. Sometimes the people who covered you in a bunch of poo ain't necessarily your enemies. And sometimes the people that dig you out of that poo ain't necessarily your friend. Okay? Yeah, man. So this is the thing about NZPP coming on the scene. For myself as a cynical journalist, I'd been waiting and looking politically for the last 12, 13 years for some kind of actual rational alternative that ticked all my boxes. Like, I've got a lot of boxes that I want to tick. I want them to do something about fluoride. I want them to do something about geoengineering. I want them to do something about peace and space. I want them to do something about genetic engineering. I want them to do something about the herbicides, the pesticides, everything, right? And here along comes this guy, and every single question I ask him,
on. Yeah.
Bam! And I got this feeling in my heart, bro. I was like, whoa, what is that? It's like it's all warm and gooey, and I don't know what that sensation is, bro. You know,
it's not the poo. It's not the poo. Man. It's not the poo.
You know, but it was actually hope. Like real, actual, hold it in your hands like a fluffy kitten hope. It was like, wow. My God, that feels so good. And, you know, I'll be, of course, very disappointed if we don't win and that kind of thing. But hey.
But Vinny, with that being said, if seats were won, if the majority of seats were won in Parliament, is that still good? Is that still something good to take away, to have a voice representing the people, having sort of government? Can Advanced New Zealand Public Party have some particular sway in keeping transparency and stuff?
I just want to back this up a little bit, because it's important to note. Let's say we get into Parliament, what can we actually do? There's a school of thought that even if we got into Parliament, even with 51%, the Queen could just use the Governor General to dissolve Parliament, and then boom, you wouldn't be able to do anything. Okay. Now I've believed for the last however many years I've been doing what I'm doing, that when you act politically and you try to make the world a better place, that is performed in the 1,000 days between each election, not on election day. Okay, if you don't have a intelligent, moral, informed population, you're going to have foolish, immoral, uneducated people to represent them, and that is precisely what we have at the moment. And if the people in this country who have common sense, who have sanity, and have real honour, all, and I'm not talking about one person excluded, if they all, 51% of us, vote for the New Zealand Public Party and get them into Parliament, there's still no guarantee that they'd actually be able to change anything, because of the legal ramifications of what we've got happening with the Wakaputinga flag, all of these international agreements that we're in. However, that being said, there is but one chance to do something about all of those issues, and that is to get them into Parliament, because nobody's actually ever tried. Nobody's ever tried before and gotten away with it. We've had all these single issue parties. We've had all these other little things to govern the periphery, or these single issues here or there or whatever, and they don't actually look at the entire picture and then go into Parliament with the knowledge that all of this stuff is going on, with the full-on awareness that there will be attempts to stop us. Okay, the other parties don't have this awareness. They aren't aware of the threat, and they aren't aware of what kind of tactics need to be used in order to counter that threat. And at the moment, that means we have but one objective: get into Parliament. As high a vote as we can get. I'm banking, I want to get 51%. And there is a limit to how much money we can raise for all of the things we want to do, and that limit is $1.2 million. And there are three things that no party has ever done before. If they wanted to gain power, they would have done this: to get the police, get the military, and get the financiers on your side. The police can keep order in the streets if these paid off fake protest groups try to start some crap and start throwing rioting and start to destroy New Zealand's economy. You need the police on your side to keep order in the streets. You need the military to back them up just in case foreign troops come in and try to take over this country that way. And you need the financiers to back both of them up by making sure that the police and the military's families are taken care of, so that they can focus on the job at hand, which is keeping us safe and keeping order and keeping this country free and keeping our rights respected. That is what New Zealand Public Party is asking of the police, the military, and the financiers of this country, to get on side, protect the rights of the people, and do what you know is right.
With that being said, you mentioned word of tactics. You mentioned word of keeping our rights safe. And also, I wanted to connect that with the post that come up on NZPP's page just recently regarding, and I would have to say this too, I'll go out on a limb and actually say maybe that particular video caused a lot of discussion to be spoken around mandatory vaccines. Now, the way that the video is produced or the way that the video comes out, a lot of people can say a lot about editing and all this, but I mean, that's exactly what media does anyways, but I don't hear those same people complaining. But with that being said, Vinny, this almost feels that video that's been put out on the New Zealand Public Party page sort of reminds me of the time where, little clips were being pushed around regarding the COVID-19 health response bill, warrantless entrances into your home. The warning was set out then. I take that video that showed up on NZPP regarding mandatory vaccines or the discussions around it, the framework. I take that in that same stride as how I've been taking the previous videos about, people sort of pushing the message about, guys, do you understand what's happening here? Can you read between the lines? Could you sort of, explain that what that video and the purpose was for that, and for those, and if you can just sort of clap back at those who would criticize it for being edited or whatever. If you want to just sort of...
Are we talking about the one where it says the Labour Party MP talking
Megan Woods.
There was a Labour Party MP talking about mass vaccination and stuff like that, forced vaccination. Is that the little video, the 1 minute?
It's in Parliament. It's in the Parliamentary House. It's in the Parliament House. And we're talking about creating a framework here. Megan Woods, one of the ministers, and then where Erin Wood, oh, I forgot her name, but Erin's. She's a national MP anyway. She brought up the fact, like, if you're not seeing what this actually does, it creates a pathway for the medical treatment to be processed anyways. But that's a video that showed up on NZPP. I was wondering what your take on that would be anyways, whether or not, people should be keeping a close eye to legislation that's already been put in.
Well, they need to be expressing their disgust and their disinterest in actually accepting these sort of things. It depends, my brand of resistance is broadcasting, okay? So I talk to people, I get the information, I try to make people know that they're not alone with these things that they feel. So this is my brand of doing it. However, everybody else might have a different way of doing what they want to do, and a different tone or a different methodology or a different medium. And so whatever way that people want to resist forced vaccines and expose it that doesn't hurt anybody or violate anybody's rights, in my opinion, is permissible. Now, when it comes to the forced vaccination issue in New Zealand, I've been associated with Catherine Smith and Jonathan Eisen from the New Zealand Journal of Natural Medicine for some years now, and they have always seen a push by the New Zealand government recommending forced vaccines, trying to prepare the public for it and stuff like that. So just remember, they didn't just come up with this stuff yesterday. They came up with this stuff in 1992 at the Rio Earth Summit, where Jim Bolger, our Prime Minister, our head of state, without knowledge of the rest of the country, signed Agenda 21, okay? Everything is Agenda 21. When you want to talk about conspiracy, which is two or more people coming together to harm another group of people without that people finding out about it, when you want to talk conspiracy, every single thing that's been classified as conspiracy by the mainstream media and the establishment at that point is basically Agenda 21. All right? Wow. You think there's some kind of conspiracy to make all your parking pay for parking instead of free parking? That's in Agenda 21. You think there's some kind of conspiracy to surveil you through all power? Hi guys, we're still live here. Just for one moment, you'll have to give me a few seconds to get this thing going again. Let me see. Oh, sorry guys. Just give us a minute here. It'll take a little bit for this thing to start going again. Done. Sorry about this, folks. There he is. He's live again.
If you're locked in, brother, if we can just do this again. Vinny, if you're there, sorry. Vinny, apologies on that one. Vinny, if you're there, we just tap in again with the brother Vinny Eastwood. Sorry, guys. I didn't know that Instagram actually only gives you 1 hour. But Vinny Eastwood, yes, come back, brother, come back. Vinny Eastwood, back on with us, please. Again, guys, the Instagram platform only gives you about an hour to chat. So again, if you're just joining us now, don't ever do that. No, I had to do that because I didn't realize that Instagram only gives you a certain window. So I'm just gonna get Vinny back on board. Sorry, Vinny. This platform here only provides about an hour's time to get onto this. But we are chucking on with the brother Vinny again. Chatting before the resets again, but you're carrying on about Agenda 21 and what we're seeing anyways, from parking tickets, from everything that we're seeing anyways. It's been implemented since 1992. You say, Jim Bolger. This is very interesting.
Yeah, and we've got a video series on my channel called Who Are You Really Voting For? And we go through all the Prime Ministers since Robert Muldoon and all of their globalist connections, all of the things that they've done to destroy New Zealand's national sovereignty and sell us out to these foreign entities, right? So that's the thing that we're talking about here when we come to the pre-planning phase, is that this plan has been in effect for a very, very long time, and they've simply got a discussion document that kicked it all off, that happened in 1992 at the Rio Earth Summit, signed by, I think it was like 192 countries or something. I don't know the exact numbers of it, but New Zealand, the Five Eyes Network, were all part of it. And so if you wanted to in an ugly way, sum up Agenda 21, Agenda 21 is every single piece of legislation that has been passed in your country, whichever country you live in, and whichever legislation's been passed in your local city council, whatever local city council you live in, and this is globally, since 1992. Okay? Everything that's ever been done in your country by the government, by the local government since 1992 is Agenda 21. That's if you really wanted to ugly and summarize it, kind of thing. That's what we're talking about here. It is the basic framework. It is the Bible. It is the Codex Astartes of conspiracy.
You mentioned that global communism at the end. We were talking about this just before, right, Vince? At the would say the end result, or the conclusion anyways, for both Agenda 21 and 30 is that, right? I mean, you're elaborating to that just in the first half of our chat anyways. Getting rid of people's constitutional rights, so therefore they could do whatever they want with us, slave labor. Yeah.
Imagine you're living in communist China. Anything you say against the government gives you consequences on your phone, and that restricts where you can live, what you can do, and if you're bad enough, they'll just turn off your phone, and that's how you pay for everything, so you won't be able to buy food and you die. That's it. Do exactly what the authoritarian government says, or you get consequences, and if you ignore those consequences, then you die. That's the brace summary of it. And so if you want to talk about a high-tech global communist police state with a God AI consciousness, it is everywhere. It knows everything. It can do anything to you, and that means that the human race in itself will enter into a new dark age, more or less. That's just it. Your age of freedom is over, and anything you want to think, anything you want to do, it has to be by these certain guidelines. You have no rights. The collective has rights, not you. The community has rights, not you. The community has free speech, not you. That's why it's called hate speech, because they hate speech.
I've seen some instances anyways,
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but you want to break it down, you know, you get up in the morning, what do you normally do? You take a wiki leak, don't you? Okay, well, when you take a wiki leak in this global communist state, it's going to analyze your liquids, so, and it tells you that you've got too much sodium in your diet, and then you can't eat bacon for breakfast that morning. Okay, you use your shower, and then the shower turns off in the middle of it because you're supposed to be saving water, and also your shower is cold because you can't actually afford to heat it. And the apartment that you live in is with maybe 3 other families, and it's only got 1 bathroom. Okay, and it's incredibly expensive. And if you do anything to tick off the landlord, he can just kick you out, and also put a black mark on your name, so you can't live anywhere else either. All right, that's just for breakfast. Okay, you want to see what lunch is like?
Now take me straight to dinner, brother. Look, man, very interesting.
Okay? And so everywhere you go, everything you do is going to be completely monitored in real time. And if you're doing exactly what you're told to do, and you are exactly where you're supposed to be, if you're traveling only where you're authorized to go, you won't have any problems with being a slave and having no rights and no freedoms. But if you do want to have an original thought, there's going to be consequences. If you do want to have a morning off and just have a beer or something like that with your mates or something, there's going to be consequences. Imagine it's like mummy and daddy, right? In communism, it's like staying at home with daddy. Now, daddy pays all your bills. Daddy's got a car you can borrow, but you have to live under his house. You have to live under his rules. And if he says you can't go and take his car to the next town to attend a party, then you can't go. If you call up and you order a pizza, the person will say, hey, I'm sorry, you're living in an orange zone, and that's a little bit dangerous for our delivery people, so there's going to be an extra $50 surcharge on that delivery fee. And in fact, we've got some more information here. It appears that you're slightly overweight as well, so you can't get the double meat pizza. In fact, you can have these tofu sticks instead. They're really tasty. Okay? Just a world of busybody big daddies in your face, in front of every single thing. You know, it would be like living with my 3 sisters at once again. You know, no, I don't want somebody in my face all the time about every little thing that I do. I want to live free. I want to have some kind of breathing space to myself. I want to have privacy. I want to have my own thoughts. I want to express my ideas and my ideals and my artworks and expression. Ladies and gentlemen, that will be illegal. This will be heresy, and that will be a death sentence.
It's something that, guys, if you're watching this right now, we have Vinny Eastwood on the show, doing what he does best, helping you understand things, breaking things down in the way that he does it best. Vinny, I got a question coming in right now. I'm not too sure whether or not you consider this a conspiracy theory, or whether or not you come across this information yourself.
Can you hold the question for just a second? I just want to define conspiracy for people, okay? It's 2 or more people coming together to cause harm on another person without that person finding out about it. That's the technical definition. Anybody had brothers or sisters or something like that? Think about my sister Marcia. She had my brother Ben on one side and my sister Janine on the other side. Janine would say, look out, Mars, Ben's going to steal some. And then she'd try and protect her food from Ben, and at the same time Janine would help herself to her plate. And just when Marcia figured out that she was stealing from her side of the plate, Ben would go, look out, Mars, Janine's stealing some. And then she'd go to protect herself from Janine, and then Ben would help herself to her plate. Okay, conspiracies happen all the time, ladies and gentlemen. It is ubiquitous, okay? And my definition of a conspiracy theorist is a person who believes, absolutely believes, and you cannot convince them otherwise, that powerful people who have a lot of influence are prone to using their power to maintain and grow that influence. A coincidence theorist, on the other hand, is somebody who believes that everything happens by sheer coincidence. There's no such thing as deception, backroom deals, financial motives, or anything of that nature. Everything's completely accidental. Now, if given the 2 options of being called a coincidence theorist or a conspiracy theorist, I would call myself a conspiracy theorist, but never believe that If you believe, for example, that every conspiracy theorist is crazy, then you're out of your mind. But if you believe that no conspiracy theorists are crazy, then you're completely out of your mind. All right, there are some mad people, bro. There are some mad people who believe some really crazy things, and they've completely lost touch with reality. And let's look at it like in terms of a spectrum. There are those people who are calm, reserved, fact-based, and those people who are very, very emotional, who don't hold anything back and just say what they think. They don't actually research into what they're saying before they say it. So, sorry, with that being said,
that's fine. And, you got to illustrate, do your thing, man. I'm pretty sure your career, if it wasn't for journalism, you'd be a great artist. Illustrations, audio illustrations, anyways. But no, the question being regarding, obviously, John Key and his particular ties with the Obama administration. Apparently, obviously, if you're keeping up to date, Donald Trump always seems to talk about the illegal spying of his administration in 2015, which included foreign spy agencies. Now, someone there was wondering whether or not you have dug up any information, whether or not the GCSB was involved, as there have been mentions of connections of the Australian government, also New Zealand government, but nothing again has been said too much besides those who are involved in the case, George Papadopoulos. But just wondering whether or not that played any part to John Key's random step down in the elections before Jacinda had come through. Whether or not you found any...
Well, in 2008, when John Key was elected, he came in right on the cusp of the 2008 financial crisis, which he admitted that he helped cause on breakfast television, okay? The 2008 financial crisis was caused by derivative trading. John Key was the head of bond and derivatives trading for the European Theatre for the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. He's also a Jewish Freemason. And he comes in, and in 2008, nobody knows who he is, and then all of a sudden, boom, he becomes Prime Minister, and then he starts selling out our national sovereignty almost immediately. And in, I think it was 2014, when he stood down, he says, oh, there should be heaps of conspiracy theories about why I'm staying down, but I just want to step down to have a little bit more time with my family, and I'm not going to, just leave the country and start working for foreign banks or something, I just want to stay home. And so naturally he stepped down and then went overseas to work for foreign banks. So the thing about having a Jewish Freemason banker in charge of your country is that almost any conspiracy theory about what he might be into or what he kind of is grounds for some kind of inquiry, because you can't discount it because of the amount of things that he has done in his banking past. I mean, my father in the late 80s, just after I was born in 1984, the stock market crashed and 100,000 New Zealanders lost their jobs. And New Zealanders don't know that when John Key was a young Forex trader, a man named Anthony Krieger contacted him, gave him insider information, and then when the New Zealand currency was floated on the stock market for the very first time, Krieger got John Key to sell huge quantities of that money, and that is in fact what collapsed our economy and caused the 100,000 of our countrymen to lose their jobs. My father had 5 children at that time. He wasn't able to stop, and he had lots of employees and everything. He wasn't able to take a day off for 7 years. 7 years, day after day after day, with not a single day off. That's how hard my father had to work because of the collapse of the economy of one John Key working for one corrupt Wall Street insider. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a qualification round, okay? Johnny, you passed the test. You can take out an entire country's economy, and you can do it with a smile on your face. We're going to get you into banking, son, and we're going to send you around somewhere. Hey, why don't we send you over to Ireland? And you go, okay, well, what's new in there? Well, we've got all these sweetheart tax breaks that you can do if you move all the back offices for Merrill Lynch there. So he did, assisted his about 20,000 of his clients to avoid millions of dollars worth of tax, which hollowed out the Irish economy with debt. And then when it collapsed, collapsed, he moved all his money into blind trusts and then skipped the country and went back to New York. Okay, so this is the kind of people that we've got working in New Zealand. While he was in power, he gave the Coast Guard the ability to patrol our waters, right? A complete breach of national sovereignty. He privatized our water. He privatized our energy. He privatized our telecommunication. I mean, all of these things are coming into public-private partnerships, essentially. Just rename them corporate fascism. That's basically what it is. And I said on 2008, when John Key was elected, that he was sent here to destroy this country, to disable all its defences against international takeover. And when his role was complete, he will be gone, all right? And then in 2014, I think it was 2014, wasn't it? Or was it 2016, 17 maybe? When he stood down, I just sat there and if you watch my video, the John Key stepping down speech, I just tear a new a-hole, bro. Just all of the scumbaggery that this guy has done and all of the lies that he told in his step-down speech, I just shredded him. And it was absolutely hilarious to watch because very few people saw it, very few people understand it, and consequently, that's why people then voted for Jacinda, because they didn't want more of the same. They wanted change. Let's do it. And then, of course, myself and Ben Vidgen did the Jacinda Ardern Exposed in 7 Minutes video. But that wasn't just a 7-minute video. That was part of a series, Who Are You Really Voting For series. The first video was every Prime Minister's track record of globalist scumbaggery since Muldoon. The next episode was everything that Labour's got to do with globalist scumbaggery, including Jacinda, which is a 7-minute clip out of that 14-minute video, mind you. And then we did the National Party, and by that time, Ben had to go. He spent maybe 3 days working on those kind of things, and the rest of them are mostly just me sitting with a camera and a script and maybe a few screenshots reading out the breakdowns of all the other parties. So when we did that analysis and determined that every single major party was in fact in the throes of globalist sway, the arrival of Billy TK and the New Zealand Public Party calling out Agenda 21 and the alliance with Advance New Zealand, who had exposed the communist infiltration of both the Labour and the national parties, it was heaven sent, basically, for somebody like me. And that's why, for the first time in my life, maybe, I feel real, genuine hope for this country, its people, and its future, because there is somebody who's willing to stand up, somebody who's willing to say what must be said, somebody who's willing to do what must be done.
Vinny, you mentioned the clip again, the 7 minutes, or exposing JA in 7 minutes. Like again, that has been a piece that sort of passively woke people up if they didn't expect to if they didn't expect to see what they were going to see on the clip. You know what I mean? I wasn't ready for what I was about to see on that clip. And I thank you for providing the knowledge. You highlight a few things, and I see a lot of people anyways asking the question here too, bro.
But just the point here, just thank Ben Vidgen from Postman Productions for helping me actually make that. Otherwise, it would have never been done.
Well, shout out to Ben V as well, brother. I know you're probably not seeing this, but we love your work, and I know a lot of people are grateful for it as well. But I see a lot of people here asking anyways too regarding Freemasonry and the connections of JA and her father, which is something that, again, stunned me, because the only time of which I ever knew Jacinda was that she come from, or her father was in Niue. I mean, that was the narrative that was sold to the Pacific people, right? Like, oh wow, she's connected to the Pacific, and this is great. She might have a soft spot for brown people, or blah 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 blah. After our time with John Key, I'm not saying that he did it. Not saying that he was out there racist or anything. No, not saying that at all. But I'm just saying, the negligence that we would have thought as a community, speaking from a Pacific lens anyways. But that's what I'm saying. I didn't realize that these connections of Freemasonry with Ross Ardern, and also, could you just help us understand how you found that for yourself, whether or not you got in trouble, got targeted for exposing that kind of information? You're the goat for it, bro. You and Ben, man. You're the goat for that stuff. And when I say goat, I don't mean the devil goat. I'm talking about, the cool goat.
Sorry. So you're asking if we got in trouble for exposing those?
Yeah, I mean, did you guys face any type of surveillance?
No. Everything that we put up there is mainstream news. It is mainstream news that John Key's a Freemason. It's mainstream news that he's Jewish. It's mainstream news that Jacinda Ardern got her scholarship from the Freemasons. Okay, it is mainstream news what we said in all of these things. And the difference is, I recall one time Penny Bright, God rest her soul, honouring Penny Bright on Facebook, for those of you who are interested in her memory. The election in 2008 was also an election where Winston Peters was completely phased out. Now, this is at the time when they were completely against privatisation and they wanted them out of Parliament so that they couldn't control the reins of power. Now, what happened was there was media stories, maybe like on a daily basis or something like that. So one day you'll see a media story against Winston. The next day you might see another media story against Winston. What we did is we went into the Auckland Central Library to get out the copies of the New Zealand Herald and the months of the election to see how many stories there were. Now, when you see one story per day, that's something. But when you see a story every single edition and you see them all at once, and then you can suddenly see the much broader agenda at play here. And this is the power that the New Zealand media have to make you or break you. And as we've seen, mainstream media have been attempting to break Billy TK, calling him a conspiracy theorist, saying that Jamie Lee Ross hitched his wagon to these conspiracy people and the anti-vaxxers and what have you. But now they've gone silent. So this is the second thing. They'll attack you, then they'll try and phase you out. And now when they can't phase you out anymore because you're going too popular, and there's I'm not sure what the chances of that happening, to be honest. If they can't phase you out, then they're going to have to destroy you, all right? So I reckon people need to really brace themselves for what's about to happen in New Zealand politics. It's going to get really, really ugly. It's going to be a very, very dark night before we see the dawn again.
I mean, when you put it like that, obviously, would standing up at this point anyways, are we at a crossroads? Of course we could use our vote, but would there be any other particular way, Vinny? Because I'm just about to mention that there is an Auckland Liberty March out here square tomorrow from 12 p.m. Will you be there?
No, I didn't know about it until now, and well, that's the problem. I'm kind of like in an isolated little bubble over here. So if people don't actually, invite me to things, I don't find out about them. But at the moment, because of lockdown, we can't have any babysitter over, and so it's just me and my wife and my baby, and she's finding it very, very difficult because also the first 3 months of her life we were in lockdown, and so I had the baby in one arm and that kind of thing, and then I gave myself repetitive strain syndrome on my elbow, so I've got like tennis elbow from holding my baby too much, and so that means I've got to rest and allow that injury to recover, and in the meantime my wife has no recovery time, that kind of thing. So it can be difficult for me to get out there and do things to a large degree, and I'm really grateful for my wife. She's nice and tough. So the answer to your question is, will I be coming? If I can, that's the best I can do.
I know that you probably wouldn't want to say anything that may, be used, against you in the future. So of course, you say what you have to say to protect yourself on that one, Vince.
Oh, wait a second. It's also a lockdown, isn't it? So if I actually go to this thing, then that's going to be a violation of the lockdown things, because it's not essential that people have rights, apparently.
That's why I put the question out there. We've been talking about a lot of the things anyways. We've been covering a number of stuff, and if you want to check it out, our first half of the chat anyways is uploaded, and we'll get this part uploaded as well. But I guess, from everything that you've shared with us in this sense anyways, what kind of advice you could give us, or for those who would be seeking advice to activate at this point in time? I know, like I said, our vote does count.
Well,
but again,
anything and everything, really. I mean, it's just let's bring it down to the base level, and then we're going to go to the practical level, and then in the future and beyond. So the base, the practical, and the future. So base level is, who are you? What are your skills? What are you actually capable of doing? What is it you know a little bit about? What is it you want to see in this world? All right, figure yourself out. Do you want to do live streaming? Do you want to make banners? Do you want to make some kind of artwork, or do you want to build a new worship center, or do you want to teach people how to cook, or whatever it is? Anything that you can do that is opposing and creating a better positive influence than doing nothing is what you are in fact obligated to do, okay? You are obliged to not do nothing, all right? And that means that the something you've got to do is something you actually care about. Don't just do it because, oh, a lot of people have been doing this, or I like this guy, or something like that. Try stuff. Okay, you never know what you might find out, but just make sure that you respect people's rights, their private property, and that kind of thing. Don't go out destroying things. Go out creating things. Now let's talk about the practical application of this. You can't convince anybody of anything. You can only tell them things that they cannot unhear. Now there's a concept called the seventh man. Now if one person comes up to me and tells me something that is completely opposite outside of my beliefs, I'll tell them, F off, you're a conspiracy theorist. The same with maybe the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, but the seventh person from a seventh different time in my life, from a seventh different social circle, telling me the exact same thing that was contrary to my belief, I might consider changing that belief all of a sudden. So don't go out there and repeat yourself and repeat yourself and repeat yourself to people, ladies and gentlemen. You're only one of the seven men, okay? Say one thing. It's the information grenade. You pull the pin, you chuck it in, and then it blows up in their face later, hopefully. All right? So you don't have to accomplish anything trying to get other people onto stuff. And remember the Pareto distribution. It means that you spend about 80% of your time getting 20% of the results, and about 20% of the time getting 80% of the results. The lesson therein is find out what you're spending 80% of your time on and stop doing it. Focus on what the productive 20% of your day actually is. Is it reading comments that is the most productive, or is it live streaming that's productive?
Yeah.
Right? Where is the production value actually coming? And focus your energy, because right now the country needs you, and you need you to do something as well, because it is a self-fulfilling prophecy. People who do something occur and makes things happen. People who do nothing do not occur, and nothing happens. You are a being of immense creative potential, and you exist in a fifth-dimensional spread, all right? The first dimension
of 5D. Shout out to the 5D star seeds.
If you say so. Now, the first dimension, we're talking about is a dot. The second dimension is a line. The third dimension is a box. The fourth dimension is that box moving through time. The fifth dimension is the box beyond time, beyond space. That is where all your creativity is. Those are where all your ideas are. And they're going to buzz around in your head for your entire life until you spend your time in the fourth dimension, willing them and using your work to will them into the third dimension where everybody else is living. Unless you get your ideas and your inspirations willed into this physical universe through your work and your time spent on it, you will always feel unfulfilled, because you are a creative being and this is your entire reason for your existence. And if you are not living the purpose of your existence, you will feel justifiably purposeless. Find your purpose, find your calling, find the way that you can contribute into this world that exists in your head at the moment that nobody else can manifest but you, and start doing it, and don't stop doing it, because every single time when you think to yourself, oh, I don't have enough money to do this, or there's not enough attention being given to me, suddenly a little bit of money will come to you. Suddenly that little bit of attention that you need will come to you. If you are doing what you're meant to be doing, if you're being who you are supposed to be, the universe will give you a little hands up every single time to allow you to continue doing what is right.
You know, if you're listening to Vinny right now dropping gems on us, please take note. You guys are loving what you're hearing. We're going to be saving this chat as well on the on our wall. But you know, just backing what Vinny's been saying, you know, you're a man of your word, because obviously, you know, that's exactly what you do. Everything that you're saying right now, you have done. I mean, you have spoken to David Icke. You know, and that's through hustle. I mean, that's through the hustle of your own ability. And we commend you on the great work that you have been doing for such a long time as well, Vin. But, you know, connecting that with, connecting David Icke with everything that's been happening at the moment, he seems to be one source anyways of connecting the dots for a lot of us. And he seems to, you know, point his finger a lot to Bill Gates. And I just wanted to mention Bill Gates in this sense. August 19th, this would have been just a couple days ago, they put out a story saying that, obviously this is what he says, the pandemic will be over by the end of 2021. Now, why are we sharing stories about Bill Gates and not about Gerhard Sunborn from the Auckland University epidemiologist, or the you know, part of the COVID Plan B group? I mean, this is exactly what I'm talking about with the media. If I can just show you just real quickly, Evans, right here, man. Where it at? Right there, man. You know, sorry, this was here reported just the other day. So sorry. There, Bill Gates over, pandemic over by end of 2021, says Bill Gates. Like, yeah, bro. Okay, you're a computer dude telling us about medical stuff. Yeah, I didn't get the logic in that one, Vince. But it's interesting anyways. I mean, you've spoken to a lot of people, like I said just before, David Icke. That seems to be shedding light on everything that we've spoken about. I don't know. Do you feel comfortable speaking about, speaking about David Icke in this sense, anyways, or is it too much?
I've interviewed David Icke a number of times, and I've even quoted him here on this broadcast and that kind of thing. And to a large degree, there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation out there about David Icke, and just like people were doubting New Zealand Public Party, Advance New Zealand during this election and stuff like that. People have been doubting David Icke this whole time, as all of his predictions have been kept coming true. So at this point, I'm willing to go on a little faith here, you know, if everything this guy has been saying to a large degree has just kept coming to pass because he's figured out the plan and is capable of predicting it ahead of time, then the man has a certain measure of credibility. Is he correct about everything? Do I believe everything that he says? Well, I don't know, because I've never heard everything that he said. I've never heard all of his beliefs, so I can't quantify them. You know, I mean, one thing that people talked about was, you know, this reptilian. Oh, Vinny, do you really think the elite are reptilians? And I was like, well, I think about it as an allegorical thing. What part of your brain governs your fight or flight response? The reptilian cortex. What part of the brain is the only part of the brain that actually lights up on psychopathic control freak individuals? The reptilian cortex. The higher functions, the mammalian cortex, they don't seem to actually work in these creatures. So if you're dealing with a psychopath, ladies and gentlemen, thinking of them as a reptilian shapeshifter, this is where a lot of the old stories came out about werewolves in France. Where they said that this person has committed such a horrific act that they couldn't possibly be human. They must have turned into a beast of some description in order to commit these heinous acts. Because, look, there are people in this world who are not like you. Okay? Yeah. If you have a bad day, if you've done something bad to somebody and you feel guilty about it, you toss, you turn. It's very difficult to get to sleep at night, okay? Because that's your conscience messing with you, okay? And it's meant to be there. All that pain is there for a reason. This question often gets asked, how can you sleep at night? And they ask this of very, very bad people. And the answer is they don't have a conscience to keep them up, okay? There are people who are not like you and this world. They do not feel like you. They do not think like you. And they absolutely will not stop at moral guidelines and things of that nature in order to get what they want.
From what you mentioned, sorry, what was that?
I was just saying we're going to take off the rose-coloured glasses and see the true evil for what it really is, and must be stood against.
Just recently, here's a question anyways, inside from America, there was a press conference that come up, and obviously we've been seeing a lot of the QAnon stuff happening anyways, Vin, but there was a question that was asked to Donald Trump regarding that particular movement, and the question was asked, is it true, or is there any way that you could back the fact that, the theory of you saving the world from satanic pedophiles, cannibals, and whatever, and what she responded, is that a bad thing? And saying that, what they're actually saving the world from is a very radical left ideology or
well, I don't
way of life anyways?
Well, it's there's this word called nuance. And a lot of people have never heard the word nuance, right? And that's the thing. Everything's all complicated, and it's got its own little details. So when you want to start asking loaded questions and putting words in people's mouths, it's very, very easy if you don't understand the nuance of the situation. Now, let's say, for example, we go back to what I was saying in the previous show that we were just doing before, that the OSS, the CIA's job is to promote misinformation and to confuse everybody, right? If we're talking about satanic pedophiles, if we're talking about QAnon, if we're talking about Mossad and the Jeffrey Epstein blackmail rings and things of that nature, they're all interconnected, but they're things that you need to really look into individually at any one point if you want to make some kind of qualified judgment of it. But because of the Dunning-Kruger effect, if you don't know nothing about a subject and you get asked questions about it, you'll be very confident in the answers that you give because you don't know nothing. You don't know any better. But if you know heaps about a subject, you'll be very trepidatious and cautious in your answers because you know that there is a lot that you don't know. All right? So when it comes to being really confident about QAnon and all of this kind of stuff, have a look at what the Vinny Eastwood Show is encouraging you to do. The Vinny Eastwood Show is encouraging you to turn off the Vinny Eastwood Show, stop being a spectator and get on the field, start your own show, start your own cooking show or whatever it is, start growing your vegetables or start your own community currency or start going to council meetings and pull them up on Agenda 21, whatever it is you want to do. That's what I'm encouraging you to do. QAnon. Eat popcorn, watch the show, and tell everybody else to trust the plan. Who does that benefit? Does that benefit you? No, it doesn't, because only the actions that you take in your own life can produce results. If you sit there continuously accumulating knowledge you do not use, knowledge that you do not use is useless knowledge. The very last principle, the very first principle that people need to undergo in doing the shadow work, this is occult initiation. Stop lying to yourself and others. And the last section, I'm not going to go through the entire process, the last section is activate the body. Activate yourself in this three-dimensional world. Go out and actually do something about it. Don't sit there allowing things to ruminate. I've caught myself doing this morning, ruminating about school, ruminating about university, ruminating about my previous employment and things of that nature. And then I've got to stop myself. Whoa, 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 stop. Stop. That is not happening right here, okay? You do the exercise that I do. You close your eyes and you go, where am I? I'm right here. What time is it? It's right now. Is there a threat coming to kill me in the next 60 seconds? Nope. Okay, take a deep breath. And you're back in reality, all right? Because people don't understand the fight, flight, or freeze. They've heard of fight and flight, okay? This is how your nervous system works. If you can see something in the future, but it's not on you just yet, that's causing you anxiety because you can't fight the future, you can't run from the future. All you can do is worry about it. All you can do is cause that anxiety, okay? The fight, flight, or freeze response. And that's what anxiety is really reaching epidemic proportions at the moment with people with their lockdowns and all of these kind of things. So just remember to yourself, where am I? I'm right here. What time is it? It's right now. Is there a threat coming to kill me in the next 60 seconds? No, there isn't. All right? So there is no future. There is no past. There is no threat. It's just right here and right now. All right? Calm yourself down and live in the present moment, because in the present moment is the only time when you can actually do anything, and stop ruminating on the past and stop scaring yourself with what you think the future is going to hold. It is what you do right now that makes a difference.
That's right. That's right. And with that being said, Vin, for a lot of people right now, and I know a lot of people in my circles too, I'm not going to vote, I'm not going to vote, system's rigged, blah, blah, blah. What do you have to say to that kind of attitude? What would you say to that kind of attitude at this stage anyways? Oh, the government's effed. I think that's what Chloe Swarsberg said. No. Did she say that? I'm not sure. But
I would say, you're going to die. Next.
If that isn't any clearer for anyone right now listening, I don't know what else Vinny could say to make it clearer for you.
Yeah,
but
I take the same approach as triage on the battlefield. There are a lot of people out there who are wounded psychologically, spiritually, and physically, whom you will save nothing. You will waste resources, your time, and your conscience by spending time on people whom have no hope. Hopelessness and depression is infectious, just as infectious as hope and personal empowerment. Okay, so stay away from those people who don't have any hope, who aren't empowered, because they are going to drag you down and be like them. They're going to die. You cannot save them, and in fact, you will destroy yourself in the process.
Vinny, can you help us identify real quick, this will be some of my last questions anyways, but could you help us identify why places like Hong Kong, where else? When they feel that their democracy is about to be taken away from them, they are out there in the streets. Why do I not feel the same from our Kiwis? It's like, this is happening, but we're happy enough to have our cup of coffee and our Tim Tams and the comfort of a warm lounge. Does it have anything to do with potential? Now, David Longley would have sparked this thought up anyways for myself. Would it be something that's within our tertiary institutions or something like maybe Marxist thought? Or have we been conditioned in a way just to not see these things, not understanding how important our rights are? Could you help us understand, the psyche of a Kiwi?
Why am I not getting off my ass? Why am I in a studio right here at the moment when I could necessarily be out there in the streets protesting this with signs and banners and things of that nature? Number one, it's more effective to be doing what I'm doing at the moment to a large degree. But number two, I've had food this morning. My rent is paid. And there's entertainment on Netflix. So I don't have to want for anything. I don't have to go out there. So therefore, the motivation to do something is greatly lessened for me. Now, I've been doing this for the last 12 years simply because I cannot work for private institutions and I cannot work for government institutions. This puts me in a very precarious place where the only thing that I can actually do to survive is to speak the truth and just pray like hell that people appreciate hearing the truth be spoken enough to give me $1 to start up an automatic payment, or to give me $1,000, that kind of thing. If I can do this and dedicate my entire life to freedom simply because I've got no other choice, then other people can do it as well. But at the moment, they feel like they've got a choice because they've got food in their bellies, entertainment on Netflix, and they're warm and they're dry and they're comfortable. You need to have your comfort taken away from you to a large degree. You need to suffer to a large degree before you understand that the problems of the system aren't your problems. You didn't create them, but if you know and you recognize that there is a problem in the system and you do nothing about it, those problems occur because of you. It is not fear of the government that disempowers us and allows us to follow the orders and the dictates of tyrants. It is not our fear of reprisal of the authorities that keeps us in line. It is our indifference that counts. It's because we don't really care. If you don't care enough to put your face on the screen, your life on the line, your sacred honor, and every single dollar you've got on the line for freedom, then you will lose it, and you probably won't ever get it back. And it won't just be you that loses it this time, it'll be every subsequent generation. That is the import of this point in history. That is how willing people must be to lay everything that they have down to get us some victory this election season for Advanced New Zealand and the New Zealand Public Party.
All right, Vinny, this one right now, I have to wrap it up, and I think you've laid it out perfectly for a lot of our people here. Vinny, the thing I find different with Facebook and Instagram is I connect with a lot of people within my community, and it's really important for me to have my Pacific community, those or Māori and Pacific community as well, in the know, because we don't really care about this stuff. Then we don't. We look to TikTok and finding out what the next trend is, or stuff that is quite minimal at this stage anyways. But I mean, providing this platform here anyways to get people like yourself, providing information that we should get to know, it's something that we're going to continue doing as well. So Vinny, I hope that this isn't the last time that we can do this. I hope that we can continue this, because like I said, you not only do you provide knowledge, but everything that you have provided to us as well is a solution, which we're not getting enough of, because that's what I'm getting a lot of people asking. What do we do? What can we do?
Well, I've got on that point. A lot of people come to me and they ask for help. And when I started doing what I'm doing, I went in and asked for help for a lot of people. Help I did get, but the really painful thing about this is that nobody cares about your dreams as much as you do, all right? And nobody's going to be there for you forever. Some people come into your life for a reason, some people come into your life for a season, and some people come into your life for its entirety, right? And that is the reason why you've got to think about being as independent as you can. How many people do I need to be helping me in order so I can accomplish this? If you've gotten that down to zero and you are the person who is being relied upon, that means you have personal responsibility, that means you have personal obligations, and that means that nobody can tell you what to do and nobody can ever stop you. All right? That is the real point here, ladies and gentlemen, is if you gain your independence and your capacity to fight back within yourself, that is an inspirational wellspring. And I recall talking to Cliff High from the Wedbot program that humanity is kind of like a spring. If you hold it down, the harder you hold it down, the more you have to keep exerting the pressure to keep it down. And he said to me, no. Use an organic example. What if it was a water spring? What happens when you try to push a water spring down? It burrows through the soft and vulnerable places to the sides, through sand and water and rock, and it starts to burst out through the ground in guises of an unpredictable fashion. That is what happens when you try to keep humanity down, ladies and gentlemen. It'll come at you from every direction in ways you could not conceive. And so can you, ladies and gentlemen. You are that water. Let it flow.
Be water, my friend. Well, let's go. I love the way you ended that one, Vinny. Again, if you are not following Vinny, where do we go, bro, to keep updated in your, how should we say, in your hotspot, which is going off every Tuesday. I see that, and usually every day as well. I mean, where do we go to follow you, and give us a bit of an update on your sort of schedule anyways coming up for those who want to find out more?
Okay. Well, at the moment we're at a bit of a crossroads. I've interviewed pretty much every international expert that I can really get a hold of, that I really want to get a hold of for this election. And if you go back onto my YouTube channel, youtube.com/C/Vinny Eastwood NZ. That's Vinny with a Y because it's the most important question. And Eastwood, like, go ahead Make My News. And you can also go to the Vinny Eastwood Show.com, and you can make donations there through PayPal, Patreon, KiwiBank. We've got Library, we've got BitChute, and now for the first time, thanks to you, brother, on Instagram. So that's the thing. I want to change, and I want to do things differently and better. And about 2 months ago, when I started working with Billy TK, I toned my delivery down a significant amount so that it wouldn't be well, it was my band, actually. I started toning myself down before I even started working with Billy. My band told me, Vinny, when you're laughing at your own jokes, that just sort of grinds on you. And if it's your best friend, and your bandmates telling you this, I think, I would have a very bad personality disorder if I didn't listen to that criticism. So I've calmed it down a bit. It's come a little bit crazy. So I would like to encourage people to go to the YouTube channel. That's where we're broadcasting 5 days a week from midday till 1, bringing you some of the best guests and thinkers from all over the world. And with this next month that we've got extra to fight for the elections, I want to bring on so many people from the Advanced New Zealand Public Party, help to familiarise myself with them, and in the process you can familiarise yourself with them. These are going to be your people, your representatives. We are your power because you made it happen. This party only exists because the people shared Billy's videos, because they liked, because they commented, because they told everybody that they know about it, because they went out there with billboards, because they attended the protest, because the people have willed it. That is what this party exists for. Your will as a people, as a country, and as a future.
Awesome, Vinny. I'm getting a lot of people here saying that right now this live has made them a fan of yours and everybody's learning something new. Again, you're providing a light of hope, and that is by empowering people in the knowledge of what they have inside and the choice that they have to make as well. Look to Hong Kong, everybody, and see what they're doing that we're not doing. Anyways.
Well, it's good because it means that I don't have to hold everybody's hand and get them to and get them to do all the work under my guidance. Do your own work. You don't need help. You just need to do the job, and the help will arrive as soon as you decide to act. I'm just really, really sick of people saying, "Oh, I need this help to start doing this. I need this help to start doing that. I need this piece of technology to be able to do that." It's like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Do what you can with what you got. That's what I've been doing for 12, 13 years, and every single time I've needed something, it has turned up. Every single time I needed to do something because it was the right thing to do, I did it and was rewarded as a result by being able to breathe another day.
$400, right? You said you can get a setup. I remember hearing you say that at a get together out in Otara. There was you mentioned if you want to get something started up, if you want to do something similar to what you're doing anyways,
yeah, that's
you provide.
Right. We can. Let me see.
No, not really 400.
What's the camera? Just underneath this puppy here is a. Not sure if you can. See.
Hey, cover your legs. Cover your legs. Nah. hey, don't show me anything I don't want to see, mate.
There we go. So this is a little PA system. It's about $500. Comes with 2 microphones and a little headset and everything like that. So it's absolutely beautiful. And I've got megaphones, and the device that I'm using right now to scroll and pan around like this is called an Osmo. So let's think about this. You've got to have a technologically advanced resistance, okay? Because you don't want to go out there with a musket when people have 50 caliber machine guns on you, you know what I'm saying? And at the moment, the media's got all their apparatus, they're all done up and stuff like that. Do yourself up. Get this gimbal that I'm using here is only like $200, right? And it comes with a little tripod so that you can use that on yourself, and you'll be fine. Just work it out. And in fact, just this morning, I was messaged by Petra to tell us about, to get me to tell them about what technology to use, where you can get it and buy it, and that sort of thing. And incidentally, I'd been working on a document for the last maybe month or two since I started working with the party doing precisely that.
Yeah.
To first of all tell you don't know what you don't know, and second of all to tell you this is all the gear you need and this is how to use it and here's how to frame yourself, and then bing, Bob's your uncle. You can go out there and you can be an effective media weapon platform. And awesome. So if people check out my Facebook or even go to the homepage of the VinnyEastwoodShow.com, they should be able to see in the Facebook feed there the chapter 1 and 2 of the document that I put out. Now, chapter 1 is the guide on what technology to use, what stuff you need to know about campaigning and what have you. The preface to that is just to kind of like get you out of your headspace of I can't do anything and just hit yes you can. Gotcha. And then chapter 2 is about a vision for the future, because if you want to manifest something into this material reality, you have to have a vision for it first. Okay, so I've laid out also my vision for the future that we want to see, where everybody's free, everybody contributes, and nobody tolerates scumbaggery.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Vinny Eastwood. Hey, Vinny, you know what? Before we end this, could you give us your very illustrious and well-known intro to your show, please? I just want to see it done on my channel right now. I just want to see it done.
Right. Well, the new intro is
the new one. Am I getting a new one? All right.
Well, the new intro is welcome to the Vinny Eastwood Show. I'm not a credible journalist. I'm an incredible journalist. Like, bro, But the old intro was welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vinny Eastwood Show, the lighter side of genocide. Just because we're being exterminated doesn't mean we can't make it fun. Otherwise, what's the point of being killed? The Vinny Eastwood Show, where the only thing worse than living in a high-tech global police state is Vinny's jokes.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard it there, man. If you haven't caught the intro, in which I've always been catching, there you have it. There's a new one, so keep an ear and an eye out for it. But the one and only Vinny Eastwood, we'd say thank you so much for providing information for us this morning, for our community. And like I said again, I hope this isn't the last time, Vinny, so we can continue this relationship. I'd really much appreciate that.
Well, if neither of us get exterminated, then definitely.
It might be me first, because I'm brown. No, that's cool. All right, Vinny. Well, you have a great day. Follow Vinny right now if you're seeing him on Instagram. Follow him, keep updated, and we'll do our part as well to get any updates from him that he'd like to share with our community as well. But until then, Vinny, you have a great day. Look after the baby and your wife. And thank you for making this one happen, bro. This guy goes to sleep at 5 p.m. Oh, wait.
Oh, no. 6 or 7 p.m.-ish. Yeah.
Is that to deal with your American show stuff as well, or is this just
Not really. I just.
Is that why you're so tall? Is that why you're so tall?
I think I was tall before I started going to bed early. It's just I had this realization once. What is the reason you stay up late? Because you're watching YouTube when you shouldn't be. Because you're playing computer games when you shouldn't be. Because you're arguing with somebody online, and the missus comes in and leans through the door and just says, "Hey, baby, what are you doing?" And you're like, "I'm on the internet and somebody is wrong."
I'm on the internet. Oh, shucks, get up. I'm watching this video that I shouldn't be watching with you around. Wait, what?
And so I realized that, if you actually get some frickin' sleep, you get a more productive day. Because if I'm getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, I can get almost a full work day done before anybody else has even gotten out of bed. And because nobody else is awake, there's no distractions, and I can do precisely what I need to get done. And the only thing I'm doing here is obeying my own body. My body tells me I'm tired. That is your sign to go to bed. If your body tells you that you're thirsty, that's the sign that you should be drinking something. Mm-hmm. Well, obey your body, ladies and gentlemen. If you need to take a wiki leak, you make your excuses. You go take a. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for me today. Thank you very much. Links are in the description if you do want to donate or something like that. Well, with that being said, thank you very much for watching. I'm going to have 10 seconds of cute baby here. There you go, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again sometime at the VinnyEastwoodShow.com. Please vote, party vote, Advance New Zealand, public party, and you can join up online as well. Catch you later, guys.